Hello my friend, in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I moved an application from 0 to 25,000 app downloads in 6 months just by using paid acquisition and making it profitable by month 4, okay? And I'm going to also explain you some myths about running Meta ads and Google ads for applications, even if it's Android or iOS, okay? So let's dive in. First thing that you need to understand about before I dive in the strategy that I built for this client of mine that we moved to 25K is mobile app ads. The way that you run it, you can run it on Google, Facebook, Reddit, X, whatever. Okay? So for Google, there is one important thing. You don't need SDK to run Google ads for Android apps, okay? If you don't know what's SDK, is basically a pixel that you install in your application that helps Google, Meta, any platform to understand what happens inside of your app, okay? Because if you don't have an SDK installed, what's going to happen is you say to Google, hey Google, I want more leads, or I want more app installs, or I want more sales inside of my app, but they don't have this information because they don't have a pixel tracking what's happening inside of this, right? So you need to install SDK inside of your application to have this information. But for Google, as it's Android, and it's everything connected, the button on the App Store is connected with Google. So for app installs, downloads, you don't need to connect SDK, okay? For iOS, you need to connect SDK. So if you don't have results. And I think you even can't run a campaign without it, right? But I strongly recommend you to install the SDK. It's a very simple process. And if you need to know how to do it, here's the link to do it. I'm gonna put here in the description of this video, okay? Same thing happens for Meta. But for Meta, your only way to run it is through installing an SDK. If you don't have a SDK installed, you cannot run app install campaigns, okay? So for iOS or Android, the same thing happens. You need to install the SDK. And if you don't have SDK, if you don't want to install SDK, you can also run a funnel that you create a simple landing page, add 2 buttons like a headline, and people install on Google or App Store, but please don't do it. Like, you're gonna create a campaign that's much easier to be created inside of. So for example, for Meta, you create it inside of Meta, inside of Instagram, and just appear pop-up, and people click on iPhone, for example, they just double click it and download. So your conversion rate will be much higher and your cost per install will be much cheaper as well. So install the SDK. It's pretty simple. The links are here. And after you do it, perfect. Okay? So let's dive in on how we got 25,000 downloads, right? Because that's not only about installing the SDK. It's also about the strategy behind it and the processes and the systems that you create, right? And also, probably if you're running an app, I don't know if you are funded or not, but you don't want only to get downloads. You also want to get the money back from this investment that you're making to get people to install from it, right? So you probably want subscriptions from your application. Even if you're not subscription-based, even if you're traffic-based, by the end of the day, you want more revenue, okay? So how I did it make profitable during the long term, from 0 to 6 months, okay? So what's gonna need to understand is if you are launching right now, you're gonna need to understand that you're gonna make an investment, you're not gonna have a return in the first month, you're gonna need to think in the long term, right? So 3 months until you get the payback from your ads, right? Not because from the month 1, you're gonna not get any revenue, it's because you need to optimize things, right? You're gonna need to optimize your creators, you're gonna need to optimize your funnel, your onboarding inside of the app, you're gonna need to get more data, right? To be improving it, right? So you know better the messagings that you're gonna run, okay? So before we launch, we also created a waitlist, right? So we didn't have the app developed yet, And if you don't have your app developed yet and you are thinking about creating it, you don't need to wait to run ads, right? You can create a wait list and you put people in this wait list that are interested on your app. And then you send emails to them saying, hey, our app is done. We are launching that day. If you want, this is a one-time offer, so you can become one of our first users. And that's it. You nurture them via email, and you already have revenue when you launch your app, right? And you already have people that you're nurturing through emails and are rating for this. So for this client, we launched Google Ads and Meta Ads. I'm gonna break down here more Meta Ads because Google Ads is more about keywords. Also, the creatives are very important, but also Google Ads is more suitable for Android. And why this is because Google Ads is Android, right? Google is Android. So it's everything in the same ecosystem. So if you run Google, it's easier to people to convert into users. So, and also if you want to run ads inside of applications, Google is pretty good because they have App Store. So all the apps inside of this use Google to advertise inside of it. So you have a better way to get more clients through Android from Google because because you're gonna have other placements to put your ads. Okay, and it's really good to use Google. I truly recommend it. We were getting 1.93 cost per install from Google, and we were having a problem to install the SDK in the beginning with the development team. It's pretty easy to install, right? But the development team was being too slow, basically. And we run the ads even without the SDK, right? And even though we were getting crazy results with the mobile app installs. So if you want cheaper installs for Android, I would truly recommend you to start doing Google Ads. If you don't know how to do it, here's the link to talk with me. I can actually help you and run the campaigns for you. Okay. So Meta Ads. How did you do on Meta Ads? So Meta Ads is also pretty good for iOS or Android. And again, when you create a mobile app install on iOS, I don't know how is it on Android because I don't have Android to have this experience. But when you click in an ad inside of Instagram, it grows a pop-up and you just click on Get, and that's it. The app is installed. You don't go to a different page, so it's pretty easy to install. And usually the cost per install is pretty interesting, right? If you're running on United States, Europe, Canada, UK, anyways, where you're running, it's pretty interesting to run there. Okay, same thing here. For Meta Ads, you need to install the SDK. And here is the important thing, the creatives, right? The creatives is what we're gonna differentiate your campaign results, right? Because the creatives is everything for Google and for Meta is everything, right? It's what's gonna give you the results. So it's not necessarily how you create the campaigns inside of Meta Ads, but it's more about the creatives that you can generate, right? So what we did for this client, we divided the creatives in two things, right? Static ads with different angles and AIV generations to scale. And why I put here AIV generation? You could generate your videos through recording it, editing the videos anyways. You could do it, right? But one of the most important things here on Meta right now and Andromeda to perform pretty well is volume, right? I see a lot of people that lose a lot of time trying to make the perfect video and everything, but by the end of the day, the ugly video is performing better or the ugly ads performing better because the message on it was better than the very polished video, right? So they lose a lot of time trying to make a perfect video, and it's not perfect because you only know if it's perfect when you put out there to your audience and they start downloading, paying for that and everything, right? So how you create video generation ads, right? there are some ways. You can use Creatify, Archives, and Highfield, Magnific. So let me put here Creatify for you. So here is Creatify, pretty easy. Like you already have some templates here that you can use. So you're gonna not have any problem with it. We have here Magnific as well. We have here Highfield. Sorry, Archives. Archives makes more sense to show you doing here. So here, pricing, like I don't know how much Magnific costs. Let's see. Okay, it costs. This plan here is actually the best one, $27. Magnific, Archives. Okay, needs to log in first before seeing the pricing, but I do believe that's something about $99, but it's worth the pricing because you're gonna run much more ads with AI, okay? So let's go back here. Right now that you have all this information, you also run static ads with different angles, right? And when you do that, these static ads with different angles, I mean, like you're gonna launch a lot of different static ads as well, with different pain points, different desired outcomes, different features. The thing that you want to do here is also creating volume and testing, right? But here is an important thing before you hitting volume, right? If you don't have the budget to advertise for iOS specifically, I say to you that you need to be careful with volume. And why I say that is, if you don't have at least $2,000 per month to invest on iOS campaigns on Meta or Google anyways, you're gonna need to create a specific campaign that you don't look for cost per install, you look for cost per click. Because what happens is Meta have a privacy policy that doesn't send information to the application, to Meta, right? Because they don't send individual information. So what's gonna happen here is Meta will not know the people that are downloading it, but they're gonna know the people that are clicking on it. So if you give the information wrongly to Meta, Meta will optimize wrongly as well. But this changes if you have enough volume of app installs. If you have enough volume of app installs, what's gonna happen is you're gonna have a lot of people downloading it, and instead of Meta sending the value individually daily, they're gonna send 30, 50 people, and that's not a problem, right? So again, important things. If you're running on Google for Android, no problem. If you're running on Google for iOS, it's a problem if you have a small budget. If you're running on Meta for iOS, problem if you have a small budget. If you're running on Android for iOS on Meta, no problem at all, right? And there are also other placements, like other channels that you can run, like X and Reddit. But to run app install for X and Reddit, you need to connect a MMP, right? There are tons of MMPs on the internet, but I'm not gonna break down here how to install MMP, right? But it's also a possibility. But what you need to know is that you cannot do it with SDK, okay? So the math that makes you be able to scale. For this client specifically, their plan is $25, right? Here are the results: 1.93 on Google, 2.38 CPI on Meta, right? So these are the CPIs, right? Cost per install. It not necessarily means that people downloaded it and created an account and paid for it, right? So the plan is $25. So what you need to get here to that make sense for you is your LTV to CAC needs to be 3/1 to be healthy, right? So what's the LTV? Lifetime value, right? So if someone stays for at least, I don't know, the average of people stay for 3 months, right? Your LTV is $75. So that is your lifetime value. And your CAC is your client acquisition cost. it needs to cost 3 times less than your LTV, right? So here in this example, the client acquisition cost needs to be $25, right? If you're initiating, you won't have this number, right? But if you're already running it, you're gonna have this number. You're gonna know, okay, the average churn is in the 8-month. People start with the $25 plans, so 25 plus 8, this is my LTV, okay? So if you have a CAC that's 3 times less than the LTV, you have a healthy funnel that you can scale with paid ads, right? You put more money, you put more budget, and you're gonna have a company and an app that scales too fast, okay? Even if you are not funded, even if you are bootstrapped, you can do it, right? You can do it because you know the math will make sense, okay? And then you have the funnel. And here the funnel is important because you need to optimize your funnel to get the best results, right? Because again, you don't want only app installs, you want to get conversions, right? So what we did here is we optimized the funnel, right? So the funnel when we started out was not that good. Like people were coming in, but they were not. They were starting using it in the free version, but they were not turning into premium users, right? So we fixed the funnel. We created a paywall here. So let me put here paywall. We created a paywall in the onboarding process. And we also improved the push notifications. We also improved how the app was designed to make people to pay more for the application, right? So the whole thing here, by the way, this is the company. The whole thing here is traffic. So you need to get traffic more qualified and cheaper. Then they download and open it, so they turn into users. But this user here needs to turn into paid user. And then this paid user needs to turn into retention. You need to keep this guy for more months, because if you keep them for more months, it's more money in your lifetime value. And then you have more money to invest on paid ads. And then you have more clients coming in. And then you have more revenue. And then you have more profit. Okay? And retention. And then you turn into advocate. Right? Okay, so this is the first step, right? We're talking about paid ads here. This is the first step. First step, traffic, right? You're gonna get more qualified and cheaper people to go to your app. Then you have users. Then you turn just users into paid users. Then you keep them in your application. Then you make them to advocate for it, right? That's the 5 steps that you need to make sure that you're gonna have an app that makes tons of money, okay? And one important thing, if you're here in this video, is because you're already thinking about running ads for your app, and I strongly recommend you to do that, because if you do SEO, it's gonna take a lot of time. If you're running organic content, trying to do viral videos, also it's very difficult to grow like that. The best way to do it is through paid acquisition, right? And when you have the numbers, when you have the strategy and you have the right way to do it, that's the best way to grow your business, okay? So if you're here in this video, it's probably because you need help with it, right? So if you send me, if you click here in the link on the description, you're gonna have a call with me where I'm gonna break down exactly how I would advertise your application and how we would create the roadmap to get you to the same place where LFG Sports that were from 0 to 25K app downloads, right? If you're already running an app, you already have users, it's also okay. Like we don't only work with companies that are starting out, but also with companies that are starting out, right? and we help you with everything from the paid acquisition, from creating a irresistible offer to scale your application, okay? The only thing that we don't do is develop the application for you. This is already developed, I believe, right? So what you need help right now is with distribution, right? You don't need the best application ever. You need to have the best distribution, and that's how we help you, okay? So click in the link in the description and let's talk and let's help you and let's make your application to grow pretty fast, okay? See you in the next one if you are still here.